An introduction to SEO. So now you know how money is made online and how you can get rich from a website that doesn't sell anything. More to the point, you know why you need traffic and eyes on your brand in order to be able to generate that money. And how do you get eyes on your brand? The number one option for most sites and businesses is to use Google. Google is by far the largest site engine, and most of us use Google to look up anything we want to know or use. Want to buy a hat? Then you'll probably search buy hats online. Want to find out the best exercises for getting great abs? Then you'll probably search for best ways to get great abs. Search engine optimization is all about making sure that your site is the one that comes up first or near the top when someone performs a relevant search like this. That way, people who are looking for your products or your content will find your site. This is still probably the most effective way to bring new visitors to your site and to increase your brand's visibility. But how do you get to that point? A brief history of SEO. To get your site to the top of Google, you need to get inside the mind of Google. That means cracking Google's algorithm and understanding how it indexes and ranks websites. There was a time that this was all very simple. Essentially, Google maintains a huge database of websites and keeps information regarding their subject matter, their quality, etc. When you search Google, it consults this database in order to present you with the most relevant responses. Google builds this database using spiders or bots. These are programs that trawl the web in order to scrape content and add it to the index. To find new pages, these bots will follow links on pages that are already in the index. Google decides which content is a good match or not, at least partly by looking for exact phrase matches. So, if you search for the term buy hats online and there's a website in its database that uses this phrase several times, it will consider it a match. It also considers quality, and one of the biggest indicators of this quality is the inward bound link. The reasoning behind this is that if a website has linked to your website, then it must approve of your website. This looks like a testimony of sorts, and so the more links that point to your site, the more important and high quality it is thought to be. And back when Google first launched, this was pretty much the only thing you needed to know about SEO. To get to the top of Google, you just needed lots of content that would use the same keywords over and over again. And you needed to get lots and lots of links pointing to your site, ideally from relevant sources. So, if you wanted to build a website about making money online, you would start by researching keywords. That would mean using Google's keyword tool in order to see which queries related to your topic were the most popular among users. In other words, which phrases get searched for the most. Let's say you then pick make money online. From there, you then start adding new articles to your website, each containing the phrase make money online a few times per paragraph. And on top of that, you then write content to submit to other websites, perhaps some content farms like eZine articles back in the day. Content farms are sites that let anyone add new content to their pages. This means that you could write 100 articles a month on how to make money online and ensure that each one included a link back to your website, using the anchor text make money online. And with time, these practices would be enough to ensure that you got to the top of Google. But that was then. SEO is much more complex, and in many ways, it has evolved to the point of being something completely different. So, let's examine what it involves now, shall we? A penguin, a panda, a pigeon, and a pirate walk into a bar. Google was once simple, and the web was like the Wild West. Whoever drew fastest would ultimately emerge victorious. But there was an obvious problem with this, because it meant that anyone could get to the top of Google without there being any real necessity to create a high-quality website. You could write the lowest quality content in misspelled or broken English, and you could cover it in spammy ads. But as long as you had lots of keywords and lots of links, you'd still come out on top in the results. That meant that people who used Google would end up getting burned because they'd click on low-quality results. And if that carried on, Google would risk losing customers. If every time you searched Google, you found websites that were trying to steal your credit card information, you would probably eventually stop trusting Google. It got so bad that people even started using article spinners. These were tools designed to copy other people's content, replace all the words with synonyms, and then publish it. The result was an unreadable jumbled mess, but it was enough to crack the system. Remember, Google is just like any other website owner. Their customer is the advertiser, and therefore the visitor. They have no loyalty to the website owners, and they are under no obligation to ensure that you keep getting traffic. So, Google evolved. Google changed its algorithms to become more sensitive and smarter. Now, if Google detects attempts to game the system, it can penalize content that was designed to trick Google, and that wasn't offering any quality in return, and it could ensure that only the best quality got to the top. Google's algorithms rolled out, each with a different name, and each of which would shake up the market in a huge way. For example, all Google's updates and what they mean for a good SEO strategy. Panda. Panda was the first big algorithm update to launch, and this was designed to penalize all those sites that had plagiarized their content, that had used spam, or that had used keyword stuffing. Keyword stuffing is when you try to get Google to rank your site for a certain keyword and you go way overboard in inserting the keyword into your text to the point where it becomes unreadable. Welcome to this Buy Hats Online website. Looking to buy hats online? Buy hats online here. It sounds funny, but people were really doing this. All those sites that were guilty of so brazenly manipulating Google's algorithms were punished, sent right down to the bottom of the SERPs, search engine results pages. This actually destroyed some businesses, and many people were very angry at Google as a result. But in Google's defense, it had always told site owners to write for the user and not to write for Google. Penguin. Penguin targeted spammy techniques focused around links. All those sites that had created hundreds of thousands of links on low-quality sites were penalized. Fortunately, Google also presented a links disavow tool that site owners could use to disassociate themselves with low-quality links. Google emphasized the importance of quality links over quantities of links. In other words, if you get a link from the BBC, then it will be worth infinitely more than 1,000 links from eZine articles, simply because anyone can get links from eZine articles, and a link from the BBC is a genuinely impressive testimony. The best way to think of this now is as a game of degrees of separation. Certain sites have much more clout than others. A site with an .edu domain or a .gov will have a lot of authority and trust to begin with. Likewise, sites that come up in Google's news section also must carry a lot of influence. If you can get a link from one of those sites, then this could change your fortunes overnight. But failing that, you can try getting a link from a site that has a link from one of those sites. Failing that, get a link from a site that has a link from a site that has a link from a site that has lots of authority and trust. In other words, get as close to the most influential brands in your niche as possible to reap the major rewards. Pirate. Pirate focused on stolen content and copyright breaches. About time, too. In 2017, another update called Fred reinforced this by penalizing sites that were violating Google's webmaster guidelines. Affected sites were typically low-quality sites designed purely to bring in ad revenue. Pigeon. Pigeon is all about local search, and it basically makes the location that the search is being carried out in even more important. That's why one of the best strategies for a new SEO campaign today is to start local. Start by targeting Buy Hats Online Santa Monica, and only then branch out into other areas and more global searches. Another update in 2016 called Possum doubled down on this, with queries performed closer to a business being more likely to bring that business up as a result. Mobile. The mobile friendliness update was designed to make webmasters create sites that would be optimized for mobile. This meant they should load quickly, use a responsive design that would change shape depending on the size of the screen, use touch-friendly navigation elements. Speed optimizations became especially important, in fact, and this is something that Google is really pushing for right at the moment. It wants to ensure that users have the best possible experience from start to finish. So, if your site is filled with unnecessary plugins that just slow things down, then you should remove them. Google actually offers a site speed test and a mobile friendliness test, both of which can be run very easily through the browser. Test both these on your site to ensure that your page meets the new requirements, and you can avoid being penalized for not catering to what is now a significantly large portion of the overall audience. AMP. Another thing to look into if you really want to get into Google's good books is AMP. This stands for Accelerated Mobile Pages, and is a new initiative from Google that is designed to encourage creators to create a second, highly mobilized, super quick version of their site. This is possible to achieve through a single plugin if you use WordPress, and once that is in place, your site will be able to appear at the top of the other search results with an image from your site and an AMP logo to encourage more users to click it. RankBrain. RankBrain was introduced in 2015 to help Google better match the intent of a query rather than looking for precise keyword matches. It is not so much an algorithm change as it is a specific tool that Google uses and that relies on machine learning in order to properly understand the content of websites and the precise meaning of search terms. Between this and Panda, keywords became far less straightforward. They're still important, yes, but now so too is using synonyms for those keywords, natural language surrounding the keyword, and using the exact key phrases subtly. Today, the most common advice is to use keywords with a density of around 1 to 2%. That means 1 or 2 keywords for every 1 to 200 words. I personally recommend going even less. Meanwhile, the use of synonyms and related language is what's known as latent semantic indexing. It's also important to think about the placement of your keywords. A keyword used in the first few sentences, in the header, in the footer, etc., all carry more weight than a typical keyword used anywhere else in the copy. RankBrain is constantly evolving, using huge amounts of data to better understand what users respond well to. And that doesn't just mean keyword use. It also means that you need to offer deeper, more meaningful content. The recommendation among many creators is to aim for content that is anything from 800 to 2,000 words long. This should include links out to other useful sites to act as references. I highly recommend linking out to research and studies if you are writing a scientific piece. And it should include images and charts and bullet points. RankBrain also brings even tighter focus onto UX, user experience. Using its machine learning chops, RankBrain can look around your site as though it were a real person, and it can decide what makes for a good experience and what makes for a bad one. So even if you have great content, RankBrain will penalize you if your site is poorly laid out, or if that content doesn't use a nice readable font with big headers.